Welcome into our Saints post-game show. I'm Erin Summers, joined by John DeShazer, who is in Philadelphia. The Saints fall 40-29 to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Saints now 5-5 on the season. The Eagles now 5-6 with the victory. It was another slow start for the Saints. Really hard for them to get anything going offensively, maybe due to a couple interceptions, but also because they just could not move the ball. They were not able to get into the Eagles' territory except for 2 times out of 11 drives through the first 3 quarters of this ball game. John, what was the issue offensively that wouldn't allow the Saints to really get any momentum going?
Well, they couldn't run the ball, and then they, obviously couldn't pass it either. A couple of contested opportunities that they didn't come up with, and 40-29 was actually a fairly generous gap at the end of the game because it really wasn't contested for a while. It was 33-7 at one point, but offensively they couldn't get it going, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the Eagles just knew that they could play them. They knew that they were shorthanded. You play the run, you force the ball into Trevor Siemian's hands with that receiving core, and Philly felt like they could cover them, and they did so very well, and were able to get the Saints off the field. And defensively, I thought really a disappointing game for the Saints. 40s on the scoreboard, 33 of those were against that defense. And I understand that they were put in some precarious situations, but this defense has to carry this team. That's just the responsibility that they have. That's the responsibility that they've said that they've accepted, and they couldn't get it done in this one. Philly, with the ground game that they have, you can see why coming into this one they had run for an average of 209 yards the previous 3 games. They look like that team on the ground where they've got a quarterback, they've got 3 running backs, and they can spread the wealth and really get after you on the ground. But again, really disappointing defensively for the Saints. I think offensively we figured they'd struggle some. They'd have to play a lot cleaner than they did, unfortunately. And so you kind of figure that going forward that'll be the case, especially when you're missing your 2 starting offensive tackles and, as you have been, missing your best receiver all season and those kinds of things, and your best running back, obviously, in Alvin Kamara. But, defensively, I thought that was really, really the big one in this one because, if you're lopsided like that and you're missing those many guys offensively, they weren't missing their impact guys on defense. They just didn't get it done.
We'll start with the defense. You mentioned the Eagles. They ran for 242 yards, 380 total yards overall. So they were effective in both areas of the game. Jalen Hurts runs for 3 touchdowns. That's the most he's ever had in his NFL career. 147 yards on the ground for Hurts. What did you see defensively that the Saints were doing that allowed the Eagles to take advantage of?
Well, they just make it really difficult on your defense assignment-wise when they've got that RPO, that run-pass option, with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who essentially is another running back. I mean, he can throw the ball, obviously, but he can run it like a running back. As you mentioned, the 3 rushing touchdowns. The last one was spectacular, but he did the same thing, some of the same things against the Saints last year in his first NFL start. He's just difficult to prepare for. The first, I think, 6-7 games of the season, Philadelphia really wasn't leaning that much on the run, and it showed in their record. These last 4, they've been on the ground, and they're averaging more than 200 yards. As you mentioned, 242 yards against the Saints today. And you're talking about a defense that was only giving up 73 yards a game on the ground coming into this one. It's assignment football, and it's difficult to know who's got the ball. He sticks it in the running back's stomach, he pulls it out, he gets on the edge, and it's difficult to deal with them with the way he can run the football. I thought coming in he was going to be key, being able to corral him and make him throw the football. And he didn't have a lot of passing yards, but it's tough. You don't really need to throw it that much when you can run it as effectively as they were.
You mentioned that the Eagles were throwing a lot at the Saints, and defensively they weren't able to really make the adjustments. They did, however, start the game really leaning on their front 7. They had 2 high safeties defensively, and they were getting beat that way, especially up the middle. And then in the second half, it looked like they changed to just 1 safety high. So they were trying to make adjustments as the game went on, but the Eagles were just throwing so many different looks at them with that run-pass option that they have. And they have so many offensive threats, so many people that can rush the ball and do it well. It made it difficult for the Saints, absolutely. we've seen a lot of games by the Saints that have been messy in terms of penalties and dropped balls. That wasn't necessarily the case today. There's only 3 penalties on the Saints today and not really any dropped passes. Somebody that comes to mind maybe because of some of those dropped passes earlier this year is tight end Adam Trautman. He had a pretty good game today. I thought that he really stepped up and did well. He did go out late in the game with an injury, so we're going to want to check in on him in the next couple of days, see how he's doing, if it's anything serious or not, because the Saints definitely don't need any more injuries. But what did you like from Trautman's game and his effectiveness today?
Well, I thought he's fantastic. I thought obviously he took advantage of the situation when, they loosened up a little bit defensively, Philadelphia did. But the first touchdown he caught, the one to bring it to within 14-7, was just a great adjustment by he and Trevor Siemian. Siemian bought some time, kind of threw it behind the defender in the end zone. Trautman makes a great catch. I thought he obviously had his most productive game this season, and you want to see more out of it. Now, of course, unfortunately, he leaves the game late, with the injury, and we don't know the extent of that. But I thought, he was basically the most consistent offensive player they had in this one, maybe other than Mark Ingram. And even then, Ingram put one on the ground. He fumbled one and lost it. So, overall, Trautman was probably their most consistent offensive player in this one.
Offensively at the half, Trevor Siemian only had 60 yards through the air. He ends up with a total of 214, so he definitely picked things up as the game went on. How did you like his play, especially in the fourth quarter? It seemed like he really had a good handle on what they were doing offensively. We got to get them to start doing that earlier in the games because this fourth quarters, they've been great. However, we need those points earlier and more often. But Siemian hung in there. He kept his composure, and he did try to bring the Saints to a victory towards the end of the game.
Yeah, he got him within a couple of scores. And I mean, again, the deficit is so big that the opposition is basically playing a little bit more loose in the secondary. And they're saying, okay, you can catch it underneath and we'll tackle you and we'll make the clock run and those kinds of things. So, things get a little bit more easy to move the football as it goes along, especially when you're playing with that kind of deficit. And it looked like the Saints might have grabbed a little bit of momentum there and were able to kind of get back to within a couple of scores. But again, it's just difficult when you have that big a hole to dig completely out of it. They had the 22 fourth quarter points against the Falcons and were able to do so. But you put yourself in that predicament every week. That's a lot to ask a team, especially a team that's missing its best offensive player in Alvin Kamara, to make those kinds of comebacks week in and week out. And unfortunately, the Saints are going to have to start better. They've got to get, to the point where they're the team that at least stays even with the opposition, so they're not trying to, overcome these huge deficits in the fourth quarter while they're shorthanded the way they are.
In place of Alvin Kamara, Ingram definitely stepped up again, 88 yards on 16 carries. No touchdowns by Ingram. He did have a fumble, but that was a tough play. Fletcher Cox really did strip him of that ball. And then Siemian had a couple rushes, 16 yards there. Washington and Jones came in as the only other rushing options here, but between the two of them, only 4 carries. So it really was just Ingram that was able to carry the ball at all in this game. Kind of need a few more options there. We saw Taysom Hill on the sideline. He was not out today, was not listed on the injury report. Not sure why he didn't get into the game. However, they definitely could use some more rushing options. So it would be nice if Alvin Kamara or someone else can get into the game next week. As far as the receivers go, we saw Callaway get into the end zone. Trautman, as we mentioned, got into the end zone, and so did Lil Jordan Humphrey. So that was really the way that they went in this ball game, especially late. You having to kind of catch up with the score. You're going to have to go more passing game because it's a little bit quicker. Speaking of the time, the Eagles really running the ball chewed up a lot of the clock, and that's usually the Saints game. So it was a really weird feeling to this game with the defense being unable to stop the run for the Eagles and really kind of keep the Saints offense in this game, which has kind of been the way that the Saints have been able to win some of these ball games, is the defense really stepping up and giving the offense an opportunity. We know that there has been a lot of injuries throughout this season. We mentioned a couple just now. Are the Saints going to be unable to kind of get over the hump until we get some of these players back on the field?
Well, I don't want to say it's impossible, but you got to play a lot cleaner than you do in a game like this, where you're missing this many people. You can't, have 2 interceptions, 1 return for a touchdown. You can't lose a fumble. You can't commit penalties. You can't have defensive busts. Unfortunately, the Saints, it's razor thin, the margin for error that they have. And I know Coach Payton hates that word, margin for error, but it's true. They just don't have a lot of working room. They don't have a lot of maneuverability in terms of what they're able to get away with when you don't have all of your people, and unfortunately your defense isn't playing the way you believe they're capable of playing. So they've got to be a lot cleaner on offense to be able to put some points on the board, or be able to stay on the field and keep the defense hopefully off the field for a bit. And the defense has got to be a lot better. I mean, the assignment football that they're missing, they've got to be a lot better going forward, because again, they're part of this process too. It's not just that the offense isn't performing. When you give up 33, that's a lot that has to do with the defense too. When you give up 200 plus yards rushing, that's all defense. So you got to be able to get some stops. I know at one point Philadelphia started 8 of 11 on 3rd down. You don't get off the field on 3rd down in the NFL, you don't win.
Is our best player right now Blake Gillikin?
Yeah, yes, he is. and that's another problem when your punter is the most effective guy on the field. That's not a good thing. I mean, sometimes in Washington, it was a good thing because they won the game. But in a game like this, when your punter is pretty much the most effective guy, that's rarely a good thing.
We talked about the kicking game before this game in our pregame show, and what did you think of Brett's first outing here?
Well, let's see. He missed a PAT, so not good. And that's what you're looking for. You're just looking for the routine plays. I mean, you've got to be able to convert those. Now, in a game like this, does it matter in the grand scheme? Maybe not, because it's a pretty wide margin, but every little bit helps, and you just want to see the effectiveness, and you want to see the confidence of that group grow as it goes along, and so that doesn't help things. So now we'll have to find out what happened in the the snap hold kick operation in that one, whose fault it was or wasn't, or whatever happened there. But you just want to have that operation to be clean, and unfortunately, it just hadn't been clean consistently this season.
Mentioned that the defense wasn't its usual productive self, I guess you could say, in this ball game, but there were a couple bright spots. Marcus Davenport, he had 6 tackles, a sack and a half, and then 4 quarterback hurries and a tackle for a loss. And then I think that Marcus Williams really stepped up a couple times. He had a couple pass deflections, pass breakups near the end zone that really negated 2 touchdown opportunities for the Eagles. Defensively, looking at individuals, who did you like, or whose game did you think was good today?
Well, I think those 2 are a good start. I mean, Marcus Williams' range, sideline to sideline is, you saw it on display. I mean, he's a guy who gets after the football, and I thought that was really good. I thought Marcus Davenport can do some things that have flashes of dominance, where he can handle, opposing offensive linemen as if they're not even in front of him. He can just run over people, run through people. Those kinds of things you like to see. I thought Quan Alexander, had some pretty good plays in this one. I thought, his sideline to sideline action was really good. And, we'll see some flashes, but, we've got to get the individual play to fit into the whole team concept, and everybody be playing at that level. And, you get 3 guys who you feel like play fairly well. But again, you look at the scoreboard and you see, 240 rushing yards, and you see 33 points, so 40 total. And it's hard to single out anybody for superlatives when you see those kinds of things on the scoreboard.
All right, looking ahead to what's next, it's going to be a quick turnaround. The Saints have the Bills here Thursday night. It's the night game for Thanksgiving. How do you even begin to move past this game? First, you have to travel home. Usually they have a couple more days. A day off is usually Tuesday. Monday they review. This is a much shorter week for them. So what do you think it's going to look like in terms of preparation for the Bills?
Well, there's going to be a lot of rest. I mean, there'll be a lot of mental reps. Josh Allen, Bills quarterback, doesn't present the running threat that a Jalen Hurts does. So, hopefully you don't have to deal with that issue as you go forward. But the Bills got run out of the gym today too, on their own field. So they've got their own wounds to lick, but they are right now a team with a better record than the Saints. The Saints really have to rest and recovery. They got to bounce back, rest and recovery, and hopefully be able to get some guys back on the field. Maybe Alvin Kamara gets back for this one. Maybe Ryan Ramczyk and Teron Armstead get back for this one. If you get those guys back, that helps your offense tremendously in terms of talent and in terms of guys who've been there before and who've done this before and who've had success before. So you hope, to get those guys back, and that'll give your offense a big boost. Now, that doesn't automatically mean that you'll score points, but at least you'll have the confidence that you can because you've done that with these players before. But the main thing now is get back, rest, rehab the guys who got nicked up in this one and the guys who are already nicked up, and hopefully be able to get them on the field for Thursday.
The Bills getting beat 41-15 to the Colts. Colts not a bad team, 6-5 now in the season. Bills now at 6-4. So yes, that was a little bit of a lopsided game there. Kind of taking a look around at some of the other teams. The Bengals and the Raiders just getting underway. They're 3-3. Chiefs, Cowboys in the first. Chiefs up 6-0. Cardinals, Seahawks also underway. No score there. Ravens, they actually were able to come from behind, score 10 in the fourth quarter to beat the Bears without Lamar Jackson, their quarterback, unable to go today because he was sick. The Texans beating the Titans 22-13. Dolphins over the Jets 24-17. Washington getting the 27-21 win over the Panthers. So lots of interesting games today.
Brief.
And we're going to check in with Coach Payton now on his thoughts
Tip
after
your hat
ours.
to Philly. They played a good game. Obviously, we didn't do the things necessary to win in our league. Pretty much in every phase. Turnovers, those were significant. I thought we struggled defending their running game, obviously, and I thought our return game, we thought we'd have an edge there, and I thought that was just average. So all of us got to do a better job. It's going to be a short week, and we're going to have to quickly refocus. So any questions?
The running game for them was so effective. What were they able to do?
What about it?
What was the main thing that got them to make up?
Look, it's a patient attack. They stuck with it, and ultimately, we didn't do a good enough job.
So the turnovers, you said last week, doesn't matter if you're shorthanded or not.
Yeah, is what it is.
What was, especially in that pick six, was that just was a throw late? Or?
Yeah, 2-minute drill. Obviously it comes inside against a good corner. It's, when we see the film, I'm sure we saw the replay of it, but got sat on a route and ended up being, a significant score right at the half.
You've dealt with injuries since you've been head coach, but how challenging is it during the last couple of weeks? It seems like you've dealt with more than
Yeah, I know. I don't really want to talk about it, the injuries. I understand the question, and it's a good question. And but there were a lot of things that we did today that weren't injury related. So I appreciate the question, though.
Sean, was Taysom Hill's role because he was limited in being able to do things this
Yeah.
year?
Yeah, he was the backup quarterback, really, in the event we needed him. We were lucky to have him up just in that role.
How much could he have done if he had been able to play?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate. I mean, he was we were able to get him to move around enough to work.
Where do you find yourselves right now? Short week, obviously, and then the rest of the season.
Yeah, listen, it's a quick week. Thursday and then another Thursday. So, we got to get back to work and get ready for a couple good teams. We've played some good teams, but it's going to be on us quick.
Sean, is there any rhyme or reason that Trevor kind of slow starts at all? I mean, are teams defending you all differently?
I don't think so. Look, he missed a throw early on. We have a play action. He just underthrows it. Linebacker gets his hands on it. I'm not sure. All right, thank you.
Those are Coach Payton's thoughts, saying there are lots of things that they need to clean up. And we're going to hear from Marcus Williams here, who has some thoughts on the defensive end of things.
We just got to do our job. It's not about their run game. It's about us doing our job and eliminated those explosive plays with the run. So if we do our job, we'll handle that.
You haven't been on very many teams that lost three. I think this is maybe the first time you've ever experienced this in the pro zone. What's the mood on the team right now?
We face adversity all the time. It's just about this next game coming up. We're going to prepare. We're going to get our bodies right and come out there and do what we got to do to get our win.
What was Sean's message after the game?
His message was his message. Keep that with us. But it's on the next week.
Trying to dig out of it. How tough is it for you to kind of dig out of the hole where you see that you're making some momentum at the end of the fourth quarter, but just how big a hole and how tough was it to try and get back into this one?
I mean, when you're done, you just got to be positive and think you're going to come back. And, I mean, here we never get our heads down too much thinking about losing. We just think we're going to come back and win. So with us, we just got a positive mindset to come back and just do what we got to do, one play at a time. And I think that's what we did.
Hey, how tough are these short weeks, just physically and everything like that, especially traveling today?
Short weeks are tough. I mean, but, they make them tough for us. I mean, I wish that we didn't have short weeks, but shoot, we got to do what we got to do, come out here, get our bodies right, and come to play on Thursday.
Anything else?
Mm-hmm. That was safety Marcus Williams not wanting to share with us what Coach Payton said to them. Hopefully they have a lot of conversations that lead to good things on Thursday. It's going to be a 7:20 kick against the Bills Thursday, and then they will have a week until their next game against the Cowboys. Now we're going to hear from quarterback Trevor Siemian on his play today.
I couldn't tell you. The urgency is certainly there in the first half. I'd look back to the pick that I threw on play action. That's the one play that's really going to, obviously the 1 and 2 minute too, but Trout was wide open. If I get him that ball, who knows how the game plays out, but that's what I'm thinking about right now.
How about the 1 and 2 minute? Was that a case at all of trying to force things?
Yeah. Single safety. I had to moved a little to my left and just left it a hair inside. I think looking back, I probably just darted or throw to the running back's feet, or there's no reason to put the ball in jeopardy in that situation. So, yeah, got to make a better decision.
On the first one, did you see the linebacker at all?
Yeah. Trout was wide open. Just a bad throw.
Are you guys seeing like a different type of coverage in the fourth quarter, just being behind? Are they playing more coverage than attacking?
Yeah, once you get to the 3 scores, you get a lot of shell defense, and there's a little more space back there, and you're not quite playing the game on your terms there. In the fourth quarter, you're getting chunks, but it's really not chunks because you got to get back in the game so quickly, or try to at least. So, it's. I think we were our yard. Everything looked pretty bad going into halftime, and then. They loosen up. It looked like they were trying to squeeze the ball on offense a little bit, and just didn't do enough.
How big that hole was? How tough was it to kind of get out of that hole? Because it seemed like you had some momentum going in that fourth quarter, but it's just a case of just not enough time in the end.
Just too much. Yeah, I gave our defense, put our defense in some tough spots, and just too much. It's it's just too much to try to overcome.
What gives you the confidence that you can sort of shake out of that offensive rut, especially in a short week?
Yeah, I think we can do it. I think we got the players. You know, I think the one thing is nobody's saying, "Hey, we're dinged up." You know, it's the NFL. You know, the train's moving. We'll be ready to play Thursday. I think the urgency is high right now, as you know it was before this game, but it's high for sure.
Adam Trautman had obviously been struggling a bit with the penalties last week, but also some drops earlier. Was there a concerted effort to let him know that you were going to keep that confidence to throw it over?
Yeah, I think Adam's a good player. I think, you know, at times, you know, these weird plays are kind of glaring to some of us, and it's easy to try to seem like it's, you know, we're down on Adam, but you know, it shows up consistently on film. He's doing the right thing. He's blocking the right guy. He's making plays. So yeah, I have no hesitation giving him the ball or trusting that he's going to do his job.
You haven't watched film yet, obviously, but early impressions of how Landon and James did at tackles today?
Did a really good job against a really good front. So I think, you know, James obviously has been doing everything all year. Can't say enough about how much he's done, how well he's done this year. I think it's kind of remarkable how much he's moved around and played at a high level. And then Landon, a lot of confidence in him. I think he's going to be a really good player in this league.
And did you see even maybe more pressure early from Philadelphia than shown on film, maybe trying to test that front?
Yeah, a couple unique pressures that we hadn't seen maybe, but, you know, that's it. They're allowed to game plan too. So, yeah, a couple early. But, yeah, they got a good defense, good front. They're well coached. You know, there's not a lot of easy plays against them.
Given where you are right now as a team with a short beat coming up, and just think about the challenge ahead for the squad now in the final weeks of the season coming up for you guys.
Yeah, I think, you know, like I said, the urgency's at an all-time high, as if it was going into this. But we know exactly where we're at. We got to string something together, but it starts with this Thursday. So, you know, it's one of those short weeks where a lot of times maybe you're like, I need some more time for my body. But, you know, I think a lot of us are looking forward to playing again quickly.
I know you guys, you're not making excuses for having guys out, but when you are missing as many guys as you are and you turn the ball over 3 times, like how much challenging does that make it? It's already difficult.
Yeah, three turnovers, two were me in the first half. I mean, I'd be curious to know what the percentage is on 3 turnover teams that turn it over 3 times and win the ball game. I bet it's, you know, pretty low. So that's on me. I put our team in a hole early, and it's just too tough to dig yourself out of that. You know, like I said last week, the margin for error is so small. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Obviously, you know, any kind of zone read, I would say college has no offense, but, you know, they kind of bring it to the league, tailor their team around him, and, you know, able to run it multiple times, different ways. Of course, it's going to be a challenge, and we just got to focus back on our details.
What is your overall takeaway from the defensive performance today?
We need to do better.
I mean, what stands out as what areas cause you problems, I guess?
We need to do better.
Mark, so where would you put the kind of mindset for the team right now? I mean, you know, you have lost 3 straight games very often in the last couple of years. So where you guys at?
I'll put it like Cam always says, you know, we got a 24-hour rule. So we have to get as much as we can out of this loss. And, you know, tomorrow move on. You know, it's one game, but, you know, we got another coming up, so that's the most important.
And what's your kind of experience playing on these short weeks? Like, what's kind of the big key, especially, you know, you're traveling today?
Moving on and, you know, recovery. just trying to take care of your body as best you can to be ready for this kind of game. So should be fun.
Do you jump into the study then maybe a little earlier than you would in a normal weekend that you're playing in 4 or 5 days?
We'll see.
Thank you.
To address before their upcoming game on Thursday. As we mentioned, that game Thursday against the Bills, and then it's going to be another home game Thursday against the Cowboys before the Saints go back on the road December 12th against the Jets. It's going to be a tough couple weeks here, but at least after the Bills game, they do get a full week in between their two games as they're playing back-to-back Thursday night ball games. It's going to be interesting. The league right now, there's just a lot of parity in it. Because the Titans lost today, that means that the Patriots are the team now that has the longest win streak in the NFL, which sounds crazy considering the way the Patriots started the season, but the Patriots have now won 5 straight. And coming into this week, every single team in the NFL had at least 2 losses. The last time that happened hasn't been since 2010. So it's been a long time that the league has had this many up and down teams. There's not really any clear front runners. It's going to be interesting to see how the next few weeks shape out. A lot of people have been dealing with injuries. There's been some illnesses, some COVID related, some not. It's going to be interesting to see how the Saints can bounce back from this loss. It's been 3 straight, which is really unheard of for the Saints. They usually don't even lose 2 straight. So I know Coach Payton is going to take this one to heart and really try to get a win here at home on Thanksgiving. If anybody is coming to that ball game, I think you've probably heard that quarterback Drew Brees is going to be on the call for NBC for that one, and he will make an appearance at halftime. He will speak to the fans as he hadn't had that opportunity yet, announcing his retirement at the end of last season and nobody being able to come to any games last year. I know that fans will be excited to hear from him. And although a lot of people have asked me on Twitter, he is not able to come back or is not going to come back and play quarterback for the Saints. We're going to ride it out with Trevor Siemian, and he took a lot of ownership for his responsibility in this ball game today. Those 2 turnovers from him early in the game, Saints ended up with 3 turnovers. That's going to be difficult, as Siemian said, to come back in any game when you're not holding on to the ball and making the most of the opportunities that you have. It was another tough one for the Saints, and they're going to come home after this 40-29 loss. However, they did come back in this game, and I think that's something that you have to hold on to, is the fact that the Saints continue to fight. They continue to work to make the adjustments. Defensively, they really locked in, especially in the fourth quarter. It kind of seems to be what's happened in a lot of these games, and the offense started clicking. So Siemian said going forward, he can't get the team in the hole that he did early in the game. Definitely needs to start a little bit better on that first drive. He went 1 of 4. Second drive of the game was the first interception. The third drive was a 3-and-out, and that was the first quarter for you. Not a lot of production. Here's running back Mark Ingram, who was a good point in this ball game at running back. and talked to the media yet, but we will get him shortly. He is slated to be the last player to talk tonight before the Saints are headed back to New Orleans. Just a couple things that we can look at. Obviously, people always want to follow fantasy football stuff. I don't know if you heard anything from today and the absolute ridiculous game that some players have been having. There was 5 touchdowns by one player. I don't know if anybody had him. Jonathan Taylor, he went off. So if you had him, you had a lot of points on your fantasy football team. There probably were some other really great players, and I'm trying to pull them up, but my internet is just not wanting to work at the moment. Okay, here we go. The Arizona Cardinals, they had 12 points defensively, which is actually the best for a defensive team. They're currently going on right now. As far as, let's see. It would be better if I could actually pull this up correctly. Rushing. Let's find some, yeah, I'm gonna have to punt on this because I can't get this to work. So we can talk about the rest of the games that are going on. Currently, the Raiders and the Bengals. Raiders up 6-3. Cowboys, Chiefs up 9-3. And I think we actually do have another player right now, so we're going to send it back to the podium. I can't blame him. I don't think I would want to stand up there and answer a lot of questions either. But I have figured out the internet, and I can tell you that Jonathan Taylor had 50 points today, which is incredible. So I'm pretty sure anybody that had him on your team today, if you lost, then I'm slightly concerned about what the rest of your team looked like because he just obviously added so many points. Aaron Rodgers had 33 and a half. Jalen Hurts obviously had a really good game with those 3 touchdowns and 147 yards against the Saints. He ends the day with just over 30 points. Justin Jefferson had 29 points, so he did really well. It's a wide receiver for Green Bay. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers and him hooked up on a couple things there. And then Kyle Van Noy, linebacker, I guess 26 points. Cam Newton, quarterback for the Panthers now, had 26 points. Kirk Cousins, he had 25. Trevor Siemian actually didn't have a bad day because he started padding his stats as the day went on. He ended up with 24 points today as well. Wide receivers here, Devontae Adams, he had a great day with 23. Elijah Moore for the Jets, he had 21, not bad. Washington, as I mentioned, did come back and beat Carolina, so quarterback Trevor Heineke, and in the day with 23 points as well. I'm going to check and see a couple other people from the Philadelphia. Their kicker had 18 points because he was being held to so many field goals, which was actually a good thing that the Saints defense were able to do. Keep the Eagles out of the end zone for a pretty good amount of time during this ball game. So that was nice. But obviously not being able to score on your side of the ball kind of didn't help them get it back into the game until late into the third and fourth quarter. We can check back. There are a couple scores that I didn't mention earlier today, the 49ers and the Jaguars, 49ers winning 30-10. And then I had mentioned that Washington Panthers score is 27-21. Night game tonight is the Steelers and the Chargers. Both of those teams kind of really similar seasons so far. Steelers 5-3, the Chargers are 5-4, and then tomorrow night's game is going to be the Giants and the Bucks. Bucks right now at 6-3, the Giants the opposite with 3-6 record on the season so far. You can take a look at some of the standings so far in the NFL. The AFC East is still led by the Bills. They're currently sitting at 6-3, leading the AFC East ahead of the Patriots. The AFC North is still led by the Ravens ahead of the Steelers. We're going to kind of take a look at the NFC South, the Tampa Bay Bucks, as I mentioned, 6-3. They are still ahead. New Orleans still 5-5. The Panthers 5-6 now with that loss today to Washington. They're third in the South. And then the Atlanta Falcons are 4-6 at the bottom of the NFC South. For the NFC West, it is the Arizona Cardinals in the lead there. Green Bay Packers leading the NFC North, and the Dallas Cowboys, the NFC East. So the next few opponents for the Saints, as they're going to be playing the AFC East, well, actually, because of the they've now added the win for the Patriots, loss for the Bills, flips them. So the Bills are now second in the AFC East. So that's the next opponent for the Saints. But divisional leaders coming in to town with the Dallas Cowboys at the top of the NFC East. It's going to be a tough road for the Saints for sure. They've said that they're going to come back and take a look at some of the things, try to make some adjustments, lots of injuries that they're hoping to get some players back on the field. It would be nice to get some of those players back in. And then, of course, we need to check in on the tight end, Adam Trautman, because he did go out late in the game and did not come back in. Coach Payton didn't have anything that he could tell us on that injury when he spoke to us a little bit earlier today. He said that, he was obviously moving, talking on the sideline, hanging out around everybody. So it wasn't anything too serious, but we'll see if he's going to be limited at all in practice this week. Again, it is a short week with the Bills coming up on Thursday. So we will be looking forward to that game. I'm not sure how many people are going to come out for Thanksgiving, but as I mentioned, Drew Brees will be there, and they'll be bringing in the towels, the thank you Drew towels, rally towels. Everybody in attendance will get one of those. I know a lot of people have reached out about whether or not you can buy those. I think those are just something you can get if you go to the game. They always put them in the seats, so maybe you can try to pawn one off from somebody if they do come to the game. I don't even think that I get one because I don't actually sit in a seat, in the stand. So that will be a commemorative item for everybody to get, and it'll be fun to have him on the call for that game. The next game against the Cowboys will be on Fox. So this game Thursday is on NBC. Fox is the next one, that next Thursday night game, also on NFL Network because they dual broadcast those. And then again, it's the Jets, the next game away, which will be December 12th. So we got a lot of big games coming up, and we're still in it, second in the NFC South, as I mentioned, but have that first game over the Bucks. After the Jets, we will start playing our divisional opponents again. First up will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That time, obviously, will be an away game as well, since we already had the Bucks here. All right, I think we're still awaiting a couple players, maybe one player or two. So we'll see if we're going to get anybody else before they head back from Philadelphia and come back into the New Orleans area. I know they usually have their 24-hour rule, where they kind of let this game sink in and then and look at it, figure out what happened in this one before they move on. But things might be a little bit different with their next game coming up on Thursday. All right, we're going to check out the interview that John DeShazer did with quarterback Trevor Siemian earlier this week, get a little more insight on our quarterback.
"2015 Super Bowl champ, rookie year, but we're gonna bury that because that buries the lead. Okay, 7th round draft pick. You didn't expect you were going to be drafted, and I saw you were contemplating a career in commercial real estate. What?"
Yeah, that seems like a long time ago. But yeah, when I was coming out, I was really interested in commercial real estate. Tenant representation brokerage was what I thought I was targeting back then. But yeah, haven't had to think about that for a while now.
Now, there was obviously a substantial gap between starting NFL games. But did you ever lose confidence? Did you ever feel like you would be a starter again in any games? I mean, I know athletes have to have the ultimate confidence, but did you kind of waver a little bit during that period?
I think, you go through the ebbs and flows of being a starter, and certainly, yeah, there's a short time period where you question, was I good enough? Am I good enough? And that's quickly, I think, resolved. And to me, the way I thought about it is I'm the best version of myself as a player, even a year ago. I'm better physically, mentally than I was when I was starting a couple years ago. So for me, I got that confidence back pretty quickly, and I didn't know if I'd get an opportunity to start again, right? You never know just the way the league works, but I knew if I had to, I'd be fine, and was always itching for that chance to play again. There's nothing like competing and playing ball in the NFL. There's nothing like it.
Did you ever foresee it coming with this team? Last year you joined the team as kind of the COVID quarterback with Drew Brees and Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston on the roster. Then you come this year, you still got Jameis, you still got Taysom, but you were able to ascend because of injury and because of circumstances and play well. But did you kind of see that when you joined this team? Did you kind of think it might be an opportunity there?
Yeah, I think so. I think anytime you're active on game day, and that was my case all year long, you're getting a jersey in your locker, you're preparing as if you're the guy. That's the way you have to operate as a quarterback in this league, be it starter or backup. So the whole way through, you're visualizing reps. You may not be getting the physical reps during the week of prep, but you show up on Sunday, there's a jersey in your locker, it's pretty real, and if you're a play away, you better be ready to go.
What was it like being a COVID quarterback? What was that experience?
Weird, for sure. Very weird. My wife was pregnant at the time, so we got to spend a lot more time together than we would otherwise. So that was a blessing, but I would certainly rather be in the building with the guys, be in the locker room. It's just a weird year for everybody. I think that goes for everybody. So for me, it was certainly different. But glad it's behind me. Glad I'm, in the building. Glad I'm playing ball again.
Now that you're playing ball, how quickly did you fall back into the routine of playing? Because it didn't seem like you missed a beat when you stepped on the field.
Yeah, I think you have those days during the week that you're getting ready to play, and that prep comes back to you pretty quickly. I found just as far as getting a hold of the install, seeing what it feels like to call plays with the first group or be really involved in the plan. Those things kind of came back to me pretty quickly, and the one thing I'll say is it's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun to be back in it.
Can you describe what happened on that?
I let the ball go. No matter what the circumstance is or what happened, can't put the ball on the ground. That's my responsibility. Carrying the dreams and hopes and aspirations of the team. I have to do better of securing the football, making sure that I end the play with the football every single time.
What's the psyche like of the team right now?
Yeah, obviously that's tough. Nobody cares about your situation or why, you know what I mean? But we believe in each other. We know that if we play a game like we're supposed to play, that it's hard for us to be beat. When you're turning the ball over and having mistakes, you put yourself at a disadvantage, especially on the road. And I think we all kind of had our hands in some mistakes today, so we have to correct that. Fortunately, we have a chance to bounce back here in a few days, so we'll have to get fresh, we'll have to get ready to roll.
You mentioned the situation, a lot of injuries. Have they taken a toll on this football team?
Listen, that's part of football. It's tough, and I think regardless of the injuries, that we were in position where we could have, left with a W tonight, with left with a W today. But yeah, nobody cares about your injuries. Everybody has to deal with injuries. Everyone has to deal with obstacles, and I don't think the injuries caused us to lose this game today. I think that mistakes, turnovers, we all have our hands in it. I turned the ball over, which is unacceptable, and I have to do better as an individual to help our team have success. So we all have to improve. We all have to get better. We all have to do better. And the margin for error in this league is very slim. Like I said earlier, you never know what play is going to make a difference in the game, so you have to be on point at all times because any play can make the difference in swinging the game one way or the other. So individually, collectively, we'll have to reevaluate and hurry up, bounce back, learn from the tape, get better, put together a quick game plan because we play on Thursday.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, baby.
Let's go, Roll Tide. Were you pressing at all at the time of that turnover? Is that something you guys have to guard against, when you're trying to generate offense and not press?
I wasn't pressing. I felt like I was calm. I felt like I was just going through my read, and whatever was going on, I was trying to adjust the ball coming through the hole. Yeah, and it came out. So that's on me, regardless of the situation or what happened. I was trying to, get the ball right, going through the hole. Yeah, punched it out, and I let my team down in that way. So that's unacceptable. I take pride in holding on to the football, carrying the football, having high ball security, and I'll be better.
Like just 3 turnovers in general, how hard does that make it to win a game in this league?
We emphasize it every week, turnover margin, and especially on the road, taking care of the football and, causing turnovers. I think our defense got us some, and, we just turned it over too many times. It's unacceptable, and it's tough to win in this league on the road, especially when you have 3 turnovers.
What does give this offense confidence going forward that you can find your way out of this recent run?
Man, we know we have players. We know we have guys that can play at a high level and execute at a high level. I think it's more so that we have to be accountable to one another. Everyone has to prepare and play to the highest possible level that they could play at each and every Sunday, whatever the game day is. You have to prepare mentally, physically, emotionally, so you can go out there and help your team have success, help your team get wins. And we just didn't do enough of that today. So we believe in each other. We know we have the guys that are capable of going out there making plays, but you can't take turns making mistakes. You got to play complementary football, offense, defense, special teams. You can't keep taking turns. Offense make a mistake, defense make a mistake, special teams make a mistake. One individual makes a mistake. You have to be collectively all in together, and that's what helps you turn this thing around. Get on the winning get on the winning side, get on the right side of things.
We have time for one more question.
In your experience, what's the biggest challenge with short weeks is just like maximizing time?
Yeah, I think you want to maximize time. You want to maximize rest. You want to maximize your recovery, and you want to maximize the game plan. So obviously we play Thursday. That's a challenge. They have to play Thursday. We all have to do it, you know what I mean? And we have to just recover quickly, focus quickly, learn the game plan quickly, and go out there and be able to be fast, be physical, have energy, and be able to execute a game plan and have success and get a win. Yep.
That was running back Mark Ingram after the Saints' 40-29 loss in Philadelphia. If you missed any of the post-game comments, anything from the game, there will be photos, a post-game story, all available on NewOrleansSaints.com. Of course, you can always follow us on all of our social media platforms. The crew does a really good job getting all the information out on all of those platforms. So if you ever want to know about anything Saints, just follow us at Saints on Instagram or Twitter or on Facebook. That will do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. For John DeShazer, who is done in Philadelphia and heading back to join us for this game on Thanksgiving, I'm Erin Summers. Thank you to the crew for helping us out with this one. And we're going to throw it to some of the highlights from this one. Hope everybody has a good rest of the week and a good Thanksgiving ahead of our next game against the Bills.
Siemian, one-on-one on the outside, perfectly placed ball, and it's Lil Jordan Humphrey for the touchdown.
Throws it because the DB, Steven Nelson, never turns his head. He never looks for the football, so he just throws it. He sees the back of the helmet facing him right there, and he says, I'm just going to put it up here, let my receiver get around those legs. You don't need big hits. Let's get guys on the ground.
3rd and 2, good blocking by Trautman Smith, and Ingram breaks one. All the way inside the Philadelphia 30-yard line.
Outside in on this. There's the block. Now watch. You study your feet. You go inside out. That's when you miss the tackle. Stay on that upfield shoulder right here if you're McLeod and force the back to come back inside. He doesn't do it. He takes the improper angle.
And Davion Taylor is starting to step into the lineup. Taylor's done, as is Sean Bradley, both dealing with injury. Nice throw from Siemian, right down the seam. It's a touchdown for Marquez Callaway, his 3rd straight game with a score. 26-yard strike.
With Avonte Maddox down here in the bottom of your screen, and look at him push him out there to create a little space between that middle of the field.
Back to the middle.
Right.
2nd and 9. Siemian avoids the pressure. Trevor Siemian taken off. Touchdown on the ground.